Is translucency. Let's see another picture, another experiment. After we applied the B1 translucent on the top of three different composites, the most different result is on the left, the bottom on the left, because it is body on base. It looks more grayish than the right. Also, although A2 and A6 have big difference in chroma, but their translucency is the same. So after I apply the enamel, we can even recognize the difference between A2 and A6 denting. Once more, we see the most important factor is not the chromatic, it is the translucency, which decides the result. Conversely, if we need an A6 color, what we should do? In this slide, on the left, we put A6 denting on the surface of a translucent glass. Then take a picture. That means when we take the picture, the light from the camera penetrates the composite and still can penetrate the transparent glass. So the light almost lost. Light cannot go back to the camera and or your eyes. Then that makes the composite looks grayish because the energy of the light vanished, not full of course, just grayish, not yellow. But on the right, the same composite A6 looks more brilliant and more yellow because the basic of a composite is white and opaque board. It's opaque board and white on the base. When the light goes through the penetrated composite and reaches the board and reaches the base, it reflects most of the light, and the light go back to the camera, which lost with lots of information of this composite. So it shows yellow. That means if we want to make a yellow tooth, please give it opaque and white core. Then the base can let the light goes back and make the result yellow. If you put a translucent base under a composite, under the composite, the light will lose itself in the translucent composite when the light passes through a translucent media. What if you put a black and opaque denting beneath? I mean, another way is to put a dark denting inside of the core. We may all know the color of black means absorb more part of light and reflect no light or less light. That still make the composite grayish and lower and will make the value low, so the restoration will look grayish. That is the same situation for the technician. Technician always put the OP layer first to make the core or mask the color of metal. OP layer is very opaque and white. Then they draw on the white base and they will express a lot of different colors. But also, I know I remember that just above the information, I I have told you that there is no color at all in the anterior tooth. But for the technician, they will draw a lot of different colors on the base of white. That means that if you want to express a yellow restoration, first of all, we need to put some white and opaque inside of it, because the white and opaque composite inside of the color, inside of the restoration, will make the restoration looks more whiter, and it will not lose the value. If we put a dark denting inside of the restoration will look grayish. It's time for us to see the picture of a tooth. Why some areas shows gray why some areas shows yellow and meanwhile some place is completely white. So we can see from the picture what is the key to color match. The answer is no color match. We should regard it as a light match or translucent match. There is no color at all in the anterior tooth, as I told you. What is more important is we should truly understand why the tooth looks gray, why it looks yellow. Because I said it is nothing important to use A2 or A6 inside if we pick the right translucency. But also, I need to remind you that maybe there is a small difference between A2 and A3. As I said, if you put A6 or A5 darker denting inside of the restoration, it will make it looks more grayish because it will absorb more lights inside. So the best way, the right answer is to put an A2 or A1 denting inside of it. The A1 or A denting will reflect more lights. Let's see the area A. It looks not yellow, as we all know that we may think the traditional way, we may think that the most yellowish area is A, but what is you see in this picture, in this slide, what is where is the area that more yellowish? Maybe most of us before we will think that the area A will look more yellowish, but the result is the answer is the area C in the incisor edge. It looks more yellowish. It's not the A. From the A, we look it's not so yellow, but gray compared to area C, because area A is more translucent than C. Why? Then we should know the arrangement direction of dentin tubes. It's a basic structures of dentin. We need to understand what is arrangement direction, and then we can understand why the area A is more translucent than the area C. In the cervical area, the dentin tubes, the cervic area, the dentin tubes is parallel to the observation direction, so it is easier for light to go through. Do you remember I mentioned before, if the light goes so deep and easily, it makes a media looks gray because the energy of light gradually attenuation, so the information of its saturation does not show well. As for the area C, it looks more yellow. There are two premises makes this area more, two conditions makes this area more yellow. One is translucent enamel, two is opaque dentin. The first condition is well understood. If not, the chromatic of dentin will be covered by enamel. The second condition, the dentin is more opaque than the cervical area because the dentin tubes here is almost parallel to the vestibular surface. So the light is more difficult to go in area C. It means that the dentin in this area C reflect most of the incident light and take back the information of a yellow dentin to the camera. Also because the opalescence of the human enamel. Opalescence is a phenomenon that when a media reflects light, it shows blue. When it transmits light, it shows orange. Anyway, the dentin, which from membrane, should be very opaque and highly saturation. Let's see what the opalescence is. In this video, we see that the resin is blue when it is in the tube because the black tube does not reflect light. The resin is blue when the incident light is incident. When the metal filler is used as the background, the resin is orange because the filler reflects a lot of lights. The reflect lights pass through the resin again, making the resin looks yellow or green. This is the opalescent phenomenon that exists universe in nature. We can see the video.
看到的这款树枝呈高度的蓝色，因为这是一款具有高度卤光性的树枝。
We can see
所谓卤
in the
光性
tube
是
it
指
looks
折射光
blue,
的情况下呈
and
蓝
for the
色，
matter
反
filling,
射光的情况
metal
下
filling
呈橘黄色。因此，
use the
在管子
metal
里的时
filling
候看
as
到的是
the
蓝色的，
background
而我们用
The
充
color
填
will
器把
change
它从管子里拿出来的时候，
because it
由于充
reflects
填
more
器反
light.
射了大量的光线，因
It's
此
the
我们
opalescent
看到的是橘
phenomenon.
黄色。那么天蓝牙其实也是一样的，很多时候我们都想当然地认为天蓝牙的黄色是因为牙本质的高饱和度而表现的，实际上牙釉质的卤光性在牙色的表达中。
Okay, let's see the video
我们
again.
看到的这款树
The
枝
light
呈
will
高度的蓝
change
色，
not
因
because
为
we
这是一款
change
具有高度
the
卤光
the
性的树
denting,
枝。
not
所谓卤
because
光
we
性
change
是指
another
折射光的
different
情况下
composite.
呈蓝色，反射光的情况下呈橘黄色。
It just
因此，
changes the
在管
light.
子里的时候，我们
So
看到的是蓝色，
the
而我
importance
们用充填器
the
把它从管
importance
子里拿出
of
来的时候，
color
由于充填器反射了大
is
量的
not
光
color
线，因此
itself,
我们
it's
看
a
到的
light.
是橘黄色。那么天蓝牙其实也是一样的，很多时候我们都想当然地认为天蓝牙的黄色是因为牙本质的高饱和度而表现的，实际上牙釉质的卤光性
You
在
can
牙
see
色
the
的表达
difference. This is the composite from Tokoyama. Go back. Go back to the pictures. For the area B, it looks a little whiter than A and C because the enamel here is more thicker than A, making this area more whiter. Compared to the enamel of area C, enamel in C is more translucent because it's higher mineralization level in area C. We know more higher the mineralization level the enamel have, the more translucent it shows. That is also the reason why area D shows a lot of white because the mineralization level here is low. I mean that in area C, why it looks more yellow because it has more mineralization level of enamel, and for the area D, I think this area mineralization level is not so high. Now we can read the code of a color and translucency of a tooth. When we reproduce area A, why we need to read the color of a nature tooth? Because if we want to copy the right information of a nature tooth, first of all we need to understand it. We need to read it. After that, we can reproduce a good restoration. When we want to reproduce area A, we use translucent enamel and translucent denting. We all know that from different countries, different companies, they have different kind of dentings. Denting is not a brand from all the they don't have all the same translucency. I mean, different composite from different companies have different translucency, and the translucency information is the most important information. And some denting mass, some denting composite is very translucent. Maybe from coating from Tokoyama, they have very translucent denting. Some dentists call them body, but they don't have the same name. We need to know that the translucency. We need to familiar with all the information, especially the translucency information of every different companies. For the area A, we use more translucent denting, and also we use more translucent enamel. Let lights go in deeper and makes it looks grayish. It's not the the case that we need to make this area more yellow, but for many of the case, we need to make this area more grayish. The secret how to make it more grayish is to make it more translucent. Don't use a very opaque denting here because opaque denting block the light penetrate the composite and make the composite higher value than we need. We don't want that result. If we want a grayish result, we need to use a uh, more translucent denting here. For some of the case, we just use body mask here, not any denting. When we produced area B, we just use a little very value enamel and the same denting as A, because the difference between B and A is the B more whiter than the area A, because then the enamel in B is more thicker than A. The difference between A and B is it's the thickness and the translucency of enamel. Enamel composite on area B is a little more opaque and more thickness. That means it reflects more light and makes it whiter. The area C is the most challenged area in the anterior tooth. We should choose a very opaque and a little yellow denting. As I said, A2 and A1 is the best option, but for some case it's not good enough to use A1 and A2 because our material is not so perfect as nature tooth. The, the most disadvantage of our enamel composite is the opalescence of our enamel is not as good as nature tooth. So we need to compensate. We need to use some tint, as I said. The denting composite is always not opaque enough. We should use some opaque and yellow tint to mimic the macaron to make it visible, as I said. And meanwhile, we should put translucent material in between the macaron. And we, for the area C, we also use the very translucent and opalescent enamels we want. Unfortunately, we don't have so good materials that can match all the features of nature tooth completely. So that is why we use tint. We will talk the